Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy your salads. And while we are enjoying our salads, I would like to introduce to you a great leader of our county, a gentleman who has been a leader in business and our community. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Maury Hussein.
Okay. Well, good evening. What an opportunity tonight. It's an incredible opportunity, especially for me, and probably the only opportunity tonight for me to introduce our great governor. You know, there's a lot of things I want to tell him when I'm in his office, but when I look at his security detail and it might of his office, you know, I said I don't say anything. But Governor, let's just agree in one thing, that you're different, and I'll tell you in a minute why you're different and why is he different. I worked with 4 other governors and politicians. And I will tell you why he's different. But I want to get rid of the pleasantry, and so I want to invite Dr. Johnson. He has a surprise for our governor. Dr. Johnson, president of Embry-Riddle. Let's give him a warm. Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Husseini, and thank you, Governor Scott. We want to recognize you for all the good work you've done to help build our economy in our great state and to support efforts to bring the aerospace industry to our great state. Thank you, Governor. Thank you very much.
Or you want to get into it? You want to get into the picture?
Yeah, can we take a picture?
Let's move us forward so we can get down.
Go ahead and say, okay, tell you why you're so different. So, you'll enjoy this, because this is all from my experience. I met the governor for the first time in Jacksonville. A friend of mine, Tony Sleeman, invited me to come to Jacksonville. He said, I want you to meet Rick Scott. I said, oh, I heard about him. He's spending his money to get elected. He said, you really ought to meet him. And I said, okay. I came to Jacksonville. I had dinner with him. He asked me, he said, let me ask you this. He said, what do you think of DCA? That's Department of Community Affairs. I said, oh God, Rick, at that time. I said, Rick, don't even start on me because it's a disaster. It takes forever to get a permit. It takes forever to do anything. He said, I'm going to get rid of it. I said, you are? And Tony was sitting next to me and I hit with my foot to his, like, pay attention to this. I said to myself, yes you are, oh sure. You're going to get rid of Department of Community Affairs because usually when politicians promise something, it doesn't mean that they don't want to do it. When they get the job, they find out how difficult it is to move the ship. So when I was leaving, I told my friend Tony Sleeman, I said, you know, I really enjoy having dinner with him and I'm going to help, but I'll tell you something, you know, all these promises you get and they find out they can't make a change. I'll be damned. Within a month in the office, he made a change. That's why you're different. You're confusing me. I'm used to politicians that to make promises and don't carry, and we're used to it. So I'll tell you about another experience. I've learned so much, the good and the bad. We were working on an issue together. Then he put his foot down about, he he didn't want to accept the change. Now, I'm trying to make it, he didn't want to make the change, and I was involved with this, and not making the change was huge. Any other governor will say, the hell with it. I would say, the hell with it. Let's do it. Okay, go ahead. So what? He put his foot down. He says, I am not happy with this. I don't want to happen the way it is. And of course, we hustle around, we're trying to, and we work something out that finally he get his way. I remember I was sitting in South Florida. Actually, it was right before a game at the airport. He met with us at the airport. I said to the governor, Governor, I have to tell you something. I'm proud of you. I said, I am proud of you for standing for your belief, because I would even give up. With the pressure that was being put on, I said, I would have given up, and I would say, the hell with it, and I would have gone on my way. But you stood up, and you did the right thing. That's why he's different. Now, the other thing is, these days, anywhere you go, everybody talks about ROI, return on investment. Honest to God, until this man showed up in Tallahassee, I don't think anybody talked about ROI. We talk about ROI in our businesses all the time. We've never talked about ROI in Tallahassee, not that I know of. Everything you do in Tallahassee, people say, what's the return on investment? Even President of Embry-Riddle talks about ROI, and give our president really a good hand. We have a great president of Embry-Riddle. And I'll tell you why. So there was a study was done by Bill Bennett, just came out. We have 3,500 universities in the country. So he looked at what is the return on investment. Only 150 universities made a positive return on investment. Governor, you enjoy this. Only 150. Only 2 from the state of Florida. Only 2. And guess what? Who was the first one? Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University made a positive return on investment. So, and the second one was University of Florida. So, our governor, when I talked to him, he says, when you're going to stop increasing our students' tuition? And you know why? We have done that. We got the message. Our universities got the message. Interesting is, why is he different? People talk about him, all he wants to do to get rid of the taxes for the rich people. Why do you think he wants to get rid of the tuition? Because he thinks of the kids that cannot get to college. There was a study done. 50% of the people that the study was done on, they said they would have gone to school if it was more affordable. He stands for our kids in the state of Florida. So it's not for the rich or the poor. Now, interesting enough, there's so many people talks about him all he talks about is return on investment. All he talks about is money. All he talks about is taking care of the taxes for the rich. I have an example to make for you. Governor was in Daytona Beach. He came down. We took him to one of our schools, less fortunate schools. This man has spent hours in that school talking to those kids. When he had started, he asked the students, these are all homeless kids, He says, how many of you want to be the governor of the greatest state of Florida? Not one hand went up. Not one. Nobody wanted to be governor. Then he started, he says, well, what do you think if you're able to get ice cream every time you want it? You can have ice cream for breakfast, ice cream for lunch, and ice cream for dinner. So what do you think of that? All hands went up. He said, I came from where you guys have been, and I am now the governor of the greatest state of Florida. He has spent every minute of his time with those kids. They loved him. You should see him in action. When he goes to all these parties and he goes all these fundraising, he gets in, he gets out, he gives his talk. I tell you, there was not enough time. They had to get rid of him because he wanted to spend time with those kids. That's why this governor is different. That's why we, the Republicans, we believe on caring for our people, for a great state of Florida. And we have a governor that I hope all of us can stand up and give him a great standing ovation, introducing the governor of Florida, Rick Scott.